Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shivani Shekhawat, and I'll be your host for today's session. So, before we dive into today's exciting presentation, I would like to give a brief introduction to our company and platform. Initialize was founded in 2021 and is headquartered in Atlanta, United States. In India, we have offices in Delhi, Gurgaon, and Kanpur. Initialize.ai is a platform to securely build, run, and monitor cloud native and AI driven applications. Our unified platform enables seamless DevSecOps workflows, whether for web apps, APIs, or AI inference services. Now I'm pleased to introduce Harshit Srivastav, our SD, who will demo our environments feature. Following that, Siddhant Pandey, our SD, will facilitate the Q&A session, and Lalit Rawat, our backend SD, will join to address your questions. Without further ado, I am excited to hand over the stage to Harshit Srivastav to demonstrate our app.
Hello, everyone. So, continuing in the session, we are looking towards our platform, which has so many functionality, and one of them is environment tab. So, our environment tabs provide two functionality that are clusters and registry. So, let's move through streaming clusters and registry management for seamless deployment. So we, for now, provide these four important functionalities. These are bring your own cluster, bring your own registry, pre-configured clusters, and pre-configured registry. So for the bring your own cluster, user can bring their preferred Kubernetes cluster, whether on-premise or hosted on cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure. And for the bring your own registry as well, user can connect their existing container registries, whether hosted on private servers or popular cloud providers like Docker Hub, Google Container Registry, ECR, or Azure Container Registries. And now let's move to the pre-configured clusters and pre-configured registry. So what are these? These are basically the by default clusters and registry that initialize platform provide to our user. Uh, so now uh, our primary functionality is to provide user the functionality to deploy their app on our platform. We are providing the clusters for the Kubernetes service, and where this registry pre-configured registry comes to play role, right? So the basic role is that we take the code from the user and we uh, create the image and store the image into the registry. That registry is our pre-configured registry in that case. While in other cases, when user wants to bring his own cluster and his own registry to our platform, then he can bring only then he can use our functionalities for the environment tab. Otherwise, a simple developer who just want to deploy his app and he doesn't have much knowledge about the Kubernetes clusters registry, those jargons, then he can simply use our pre-configured clusters and pre-configured registries. So let's deep dive into the part where we are providing functionality for bring your own clusters. So what are the we have divided into six small steps so that you can easily understand it. The most important part is that the cluster. There should be a cluster that a user have so that he can import it on our platform. The second thing, when the for a brief introduction how the cluster is created, there should be a provider like Azure, AWS, and there you can use their Kubernetes service. For when you are going to use their Kubernetes service, you will be creating a cluster, and then you will be getting a kube config from there where you will be getting the username and so these details are important when you are trying to import your cluster on our platform. So the first part is you should have a cluster, and the second thing, I'll show you also the demo, but for the brief introduction, I'm just uh, clearing these things. The first thing, cluster, and and the details of the cluster to import it on our platform. And then you need to download the CRDs that we will be providing to you, and then you need to apply those CRDs on your own clusters. When once the CRDs are applied on the cluster, you can click on the validate button in the cluster component in our platform, and then a agent, which we are calling as initialize agent, will run on your cluster, which will verify all the resources that we want you to run on your cluster. And after that, it will take a little bit of time, and then the cluster will be imported, and you can see the status and logs on our platform. So this was the brief introduction about the cluster. If I sum up, the first thing, cluster, details of the cluster, download the CRDs, and you need to apply the CRDs on your cluster which you want to import, then just validate. So the next part, that is for the registry. So for bring your own registry also, you should have an account on any registry like Docker Hub or Azure. And then coming up to our platform, if you are trying to bring your own registry, you need to fill a form with certain details for the registry, that is going to be the name of the registry, and I will show in the demo, and then you can import that registry as well. So now what? Once you imported your own cluster and your own registry, then the real game begins. You can create your workspace that will be hosted on your own cluster, and the image of your app that will be created will be stored on your own registry, right? So this was the brief introduction. Now let's move towards the demo. So this is our platform console.initialize, and here we need to, you can see here there are some tabs related to workspace. You can create workspace, and the previous demos also, some of the SDs has shown how you can create a workspace, and inside the workspace you can deploy your own app. Then security, observability, and this is the tab for environments where you can see clusters and registries. So for the clusters, we can see all the clusters here. If you see this status, we have provided a pre-configured status. So this pre-configured status is the one that I had talked about in the starting of the demo. It is the cluster that is provided by the initialize. Now on if you want to import a cluster, we can click on the add button. We can provide some details regarding the cluster. So for a bit of ease, I have already copied these detail in my clipboard. You will also get the cluster URL once you get a cluster from one of the providers. Here the cluster is of type CO, and you can select one of the mode for prod or non-prod. Once you fill these details, you will come to the config page where you can download our CRDs. So basically there are two files that are going to be downloaded. The first one is CRD and the second one is resource deployment file. You need to apply both of the files, crd.yaml and democluster.yaml, to your cluster. So here you can see that I have a cluster that is BYOC testing team. Here we can apply those file using kubectl commands. We see what was the name of the cluster. So till then, this file are applying. So then you can start your Q&A session for that.
So I have one question. Like, how you will be able to communicate with our cluster?
Okay, let me
Yeah,
take that question up.
good.
So, for communicating to your cluster, we are providing you these two YAMLs which you have to apply. The first is the CRD YAML, and second is the resources YAML, which will have the deployments. And there's an agent called initialize agent in that. And using that agent will create the connection between our application and your connection, your cluster. So that is how communication happens between our application and your cluster.
Okay.
Yeah, basically this CRD file is going is known as, okay, it's downloaded once again. Let me see the second name, that is demo cluster. It will take few more minutes. Okay.
Like to use the cluster, to use my cluster, you need kubeconfig, and in the details, I'm not going to provide you that kubeconfig. So how you guys are generating that kubeconfig file?
So again, this agent which we are deploying on your cluster will provide us your kube config also. This will extract your kube config and give it to us. And using that kube config, we can access your cluster.
So only with the help of these details you are able to generate that kubeconfig, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so on we have applied both the CRDs, and after that, once you validate our initialize agent verify resources, and this step also takes a little time, and once those resources are verified, then the import begins to start. So cluster import successfully started. Let me to next page. In this way, you can see the demo cluster. And till then, let's walk through the registry part. And you need to fill some details regarding the registry, like we are providing the name as demo registry. This will be of type Docker Hub, and for the ease of navigation,
I think we have network issue at Hershey's side. So, Siddhant, can you take over?
Let's just wait for him to join.
Okay, Harshit is reconnecting. Let us wait for some seconds.
Okay, till Harshit is connecting, we can maybe discuss on what these environments are really. So basically, initialize as an application provides you out of the box two clusters, prod and non-prod clusters, and a registry. So even if you don't have a registry or a cluster, initialize will provide you with the default clusters that are pre-configured that was showing up on the screen. But in case you want to use your own clusters or your own registries, in that case, environments gives you the option so that you can add your own cluster and your
Okay.
own registries so that
I'm
you don't
audible?
have to use default. Yeah, Harshit, you are audible. You can resume from the registry part.
Yeah.
You can share your screen, Harshit.
I think he still is having connection issues. Okay, let me check.
Hello.
Yeah, Harshit, you're audible. Can you share your screen?
Okay. So the cluster is imported here, and we were on
Share
the
your screen. Your
registry
screen
part.
is not shared. I can't see your screen.
Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the demo cluster that we were importing has been imported successfully, and we were on the registry part. This page has the registry already imported. The first one that is pre-configured is provided by the initialize, and the second one is a custom registry that is imported. So I have already told you in the initial discussion that we are going to get a form to fill details with the registry. We can fill here the name of the registry. We can create any name for the registry or test registry. Right. We can the registry that we are going to take is of Docker Hub, and I've already copied some of the. Okay. Then we can provide the registry URL. For in the case of Docker Hub, it will be hub.docker.com, and we need to provide a valid namespace of the registry for a successful import of the registry. Okay. So our registry is also imported. What next? Now, if I show you the cluster, we have imported our cluster, that is demo cluster of type of CVO provider, and it's in prod mode. We can see the logs of the cluster here. If you see for imported cluster, it says our agent is up and healthy. You can start your deployment. And for registry as well, if you'll see, our registry is successfully imported. So the next step which you can take is, on going to the workspace, you can create a workspace with the help of this new imported cluster and new imported registry. By default, initialize provide you our own cluster and on registry to deploy your app. Like if now in this case we are going to create a demo workspace with the help of imported cluster and imported registry. See, demo workspace is created, and here we can start our deployment, which has been previously shown in the deployment with the in the session in which Sachin sir and Shivani showed the demo. So this was the whole demo related with the environment tab. It basically provides the ease for a corporate company to bring their own cluster and registries. Thank you. And do we have some questions?
Yes, we have. So, like, we are providing the credentials of registry, right? So, will there be any security, sir, regarding that, connecting the registry?
No, I don't think that no, there will be no security issues with that. Anyway, to push the image to a registry and to like pull the image from a registry for deployment, we'll need the credentials, and so that's why we are taking it. And so, rest assured, there are privacy policies of the product. Your data is completely safe here.
Okay. So, where we are using those clusters and registry, like you have created cluster and registry.
So basically, as Harshit shows, we create a workspace that will use those clusters and registries. So you can opt to create a workspace with your own cluster and own registry. And when you create an application on that workspace, the deployments of your application will take place on your cluster, and the image push and pull will happen on your registry instead of our pre-configured clusters and registries.
Okay. Suppose I have created a workspace with your pre-configured cluster and registry, like initialize whatever providing. And if I want to like change the cluster or registry, so what can I do for this?
So you want to change. So a simple step would be to create a new workspace with the your configured registries and clusters. So that would be better if you create a new workspace rather than editing an existing workspace, because it would break your application existing application flows.
Yeah, we have one question in chat. Like, do you think this will work across the different cloud providers? Like, can I provide non-prod in one cloud and prod in one different cloud provider?
Yes, definitely. So as you saw on the cluster screen, we had an option to provide a prod and non-prod mode, right? Yeah, here.
Yeah.
So you can have different providers for prod and non-prod, and during creation of workspace you can specify which one do you want for prod and which one do you want for non-prod. So that's totally configurable.
Okay. Is there any other question on the chat or anywhere else?
We can wait for a few seconds for the questions.
Like, do we have a plan to have like other providers in the cluster? Like we are using only Civo and AWS Azure. So can we connect with other clouds as well?
So yeah, we are planning on taking most of the major providers. Right now, we are supporting CO, Azure, and AWS, and we are planning on onboarding other providers as well. So right now, we have major players which are there in the market. Yeah, it will be continuously. We'll be continuously adding more providers to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If we have any questions, you can write in the chat. We'll answer. And thank you, Harshit Srivastav, Siddhant Pandey, and Lalit Rawat for your valuable insights. We appreciate everyone's participation in today's informative webinar. For any further questions or assistance, you can ask in chat and stay connected for updates on future events. Until next time, have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.